Hey there, entrepreneurs and empire builders. How are you? Dr. Foster, the success coach here with MaximumChange.com. We're right before the end of the year, and I'm really getting excited about the new year coming. 2019 is really around the corner now. It is December 17th when I'm recording this, and I am getting really, really excited about the possibilities and prospects for the new year. Now, I'm not one to do New Year's resolutions, but I do believe in goal setting, mind setting, meaning that I set my mindset correctly before the new year, and I move into the new year with a lot of excitement and focus. But today I wanted to talk to you about how I went from over $500,000 in debt into being a successful business owner, where I have been doing this for over 15 years. I've been in the business world for 25 years. I've had two very successful businesses, this being one of them, the other one being a manufacturing company. I've helped start hundreds of other businesses, and I've worked with entrepreneurs and business owners around the world, high-profile individuals and executives around the world for the last 25 years, helping them build very successful businesses. But I wanted to talk to you about something that's near and dear to me, because I believe that there are a lot of people out there probably listening to this right now that are stuck in debt. And debt is like a prison. Debt is bondage, and debt is something that is debilitating and holds us captive. And so we have to find ways out of that debt. And I know from firsthand, after being in a lot of debt, that my pathway out was not just another job. Jobs maintain the stability of debt, whereas if you are creating wealth in a business like I have, and what I help other entrepreneurs do in building their business is I help create that wealth so that they can break free the chains of bondage of debt. So what I want to talk to you about is you're sitting there saying, well, Dr. Foster, I really want to own my own business. I'm stuck in this debt and I don't know what to do. Should I go out and get another loan? I'm like, no, don't go out and get any more loans. In fact, I know a lot of entrepreneurs jack up their credit because they extend themselves. I've done it before, where you go and you get a credit card and you jack it up and then you're stuck with that debt at a high interest rate. And so I believe in this thing called bootstrapping. Now, you've probably heard me talk about it before, and I've mentioned it over time, but I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit more today. And if this resonates with you and you feel like I can help you, at least jump into the Master Academy, which is a very low amount of money each month that you have to pay, but at least you can get into this group with us, and I can help you to bootstrap and walk your way through building not just a side hustle, but a side hustle that becomes your mainline business, which becomes your wealth builder, which becomes your freedom, your way of finding freedom from all this debt and struggles that you're in. So here's what I wanted to talk about, and that's bootstrapping. Many entrepreneurs, many business owners, many entrepreneur-minded people feel that they cannot start a business because they lack money or capital. And of course, capital is a necessity, and sometimes it is difficult to come by, but you don't need to go out and get an investor or a bank loan or a lot of credit cards to run your business. In fact, many people don't realize that you could start a business where you can double your income, triple your income, quadruple your income just by starting out small and working your way through that. So what I'm sharing with you are things that I have done where I went from an enormous amount of debt to growing my business and finding that financial freedom, which has allowed me to help other people. And I think when much is given, much is expected. So I like to help people get out of their situation because I too have found my way out of mine. So here's the thing. Most people believe that they have to go out and find an investor, and they spend an enormous amount of time, enormous amount of energy, enormous amount of funds to write themselves a business plan. In fact, many times I'll have someone come along and say, can you help me write a business plan? And my immediate question is why? What do you need that business plan for? Because many times people believe that they need a business plan to get started. I would say you'd be better off just writing down a list of goals of what you want to accomplish and when you want to accomplish them than it is to go ahead and spend all that money and time and effort to write a business plan. Now, there's nothing wrong with a business plan, except that if you're trying to get out of debt, a business plan is really designed to take to a bank or an investor and say, this is my business. And quite frankly, if you don't have a business yet, they want to see numbers. They want to see, ROI, return on investment, for those who don't know what that is. And so a business entrepreneur, have you ever watched Shark Tank? What do the investors ask all the time? Tell me about your sales. Tell me how long you've been doing this. Tell me how much of this you own. Tell me how much of this you're extended in debt. They ask questions about the money part of it. And so if you're just starting a business, having a business plan, while the plan is great, it doesn't translate into actual money in. And so let me start this way. It would be better for you to find a skill set that you're really good at and find a mechanism or an avenue or a pathway of which you can make money with that skill set. Now, that's better than going out and spending a lot of money, again, getting more debt to get an education. Listen, I have been in school for over half of my life. And I'll tell you right now, if there was one thing that I could reset, it would be that I were living in this time period, entering into the workforce in this time period where I had the access to the internet and all the information that's out there, and I didn't get into debt just from school. Now, I'm not saying that education is not important. What I'm saying is, do you really need the college degree to make money? And the answer is not necessarily. And I have a doctorate. And I'm going to tell you what I found out. Every time you go from bachelor's to master's to doctorate, each level makes you more, or rather less, employable. Because, hear me out now. Now, the last 8 to 10 years, the economy was really tough. And I thought, well, I'll go back and get my doctorate because at least it'll make me more marketable. What I found out was that just by having the master's degree in a down market, people weren't hiring me because they could go find someone who didn't have a degree, they could pay them less, and those people had just as much experience as I had in that particular area. So stick to your skill set. What is that? I don't know what your skill set is. If you're watching this today, think about what you're good at. Think about what people come to you and ask you questions about. You also need to think about how you have used your skill set to make money for other people, because there is a way that you can make skill set. You should understand the industry that you're wanting to focus in on, and understand that industry that you're going to venture out into. That means you need to understand who your target audience is and where they hang out and how you can reach them. And you need to make sure that all of this is done at the lowest amount of money to be spent. So use your skill set. My skill set is that I have been in the business world for 25 years. I have built very successful businesses. I have helped other people build successful businesses, and my natural ability to coach and mentor someone to be able to see the situation and be able to speak into that situation is powerful. And I use that skill set. People come to me all the time and they ask me for my opinion. And when I find that I'm able to just give them that feedback very effortlessly, it's almost like if I were in a coma, I'd be able to do this still, as my mentor would say. So stick to your skill set. Find what you're good at and think about ways that you can take that skill set to make money with it. Now, the other way that you could bootstrap a business getting started is to work from home. Now, obviously, you could see this is my office. You really can't see the rest of it, but it's about a 700 square foot room that I work out of my house. And I've got books around me. I've got desks. I've got chairs, lamps. I've got 2 windows I could see outside of the house. And what you can't see are my 2 pugs. I have 2 pugs that are down below me. They're old dogs, and all they do is sleep all day. So they are my companions while I'm working. So I work from home. And a lot of times startups think that they need to have fancy offices and that fancy address and the high-rise building, and you can look out, you're on the 45th floor and you could see for miles, and that prestigious address, and you have parking spaces and fancy phone system, and you've got a fancy lobby with a receptionist, and on and on and on. Here's the reality of it. In the 21st century, you don't need any of that. In fact, and I wrote a book on this, and other people have written great books on this. In fact, the truth is we're heading toward a freelance economy. We're heading toward a place where people are working from home, working from other places around the world, and they're traveling, seeing the world, experiencing new things, and as long as they have access to the internet, they're able to create wealth. Now, work from home or work from wherever it is, unless you need a storefront. And in this day and age, the digital age with Amazon and Shopify and all these other places where you can actually set up a store that sell things, do you really need a storefront? Rather, can you get by with a digital storefront? Working from home does have its challenges. There's a lot of great books and resources, tons of articles out there on how to effectively manage your time and stay focused working from home. Now, I don't just work from home. I have a laptop computer, and I take this computer with me. A lot of times I'll go sit in a coffee shop, and if I don't have that, I have a smartphone. Now, I have an Android. You might have a Apple iPhone, but what I do is I have all the apps I need where I can do video conferencing. I have all of the information I need. I have cloud computing, which we're going to talk about here in a moment. Everything I need. This is my office. This is my office, and it fits in the back pocket of my jeans, which you can't see I'm wearing. And see, that's the other thing. When you work from home, you don't have to spend all this money on wardrobes and fancy ties and suits and so forth. So you're going to save a huge amount of money working from home, and not only that, saving money on rent and also the commute time, because that's wear and tear on your vehicle, plus gas. You don't have to spend all that time in traffic, and you don't have to eat out because you forgot to take your lunch. All of that encapsulates into one other thing, and that's a tax incentive. You see, I write off this room because this room is used 99% of the time for my business. And so income that comes into it, I get to write off this portion of my room. Now, you'll have to check with your accountant, your CPA, but just to give you an example of some of the things that I'm allowed to write off under the current tax code, the square footage of this room compared to my house, I get to write off the electric bill on a percentage basis. I get to write off water from a percentage basis because I use my internet during the day. So the majority of the time that I'm using my internet is for business. I get to write off that percentage of business. I get to write off my cell phone 100% because I use it 99% of the time for business, and so on and so on and so on. And by the way, I don't have a fancy phone system. This is my phone system, and I have a Google number that forwards to my phone, and it takes voice messages. I don't need to have a fancy system. And also, I do a lot of video conferencing. The majority of the clients I work with, I do it through video conference. And guess what? That is free. I don't have to spend money to video conference. Now, years ago, when video conferencing was brand new, it was very expensive. And just the video camera that's sitting on my computer right now was several hundreds of dollars. And I think I got this for under $100. And this is a HD video camera. And it's a Logitech. And so I didn't have to spend a lot of money to do that. Now, obviously, where is your big expenses? Well, your laptop is probably going to be a big expense, and you'll probably spend under $1,000 for that if you get a good laptop. You're going to, spend money on a good internet connection. And depending on what you're doing, if you do a lot of video streaming like I do, then you need to have a high-speed internet connection. Now, the rest of the time when I'm not working, which is usually between 6 in the evening till 9 in the evening, we stream videos through Netflix and Amazon Prime. And so the majority of the day that I'm using the internet is me doing business with my customers. Now, there are other things that you can write off, if you want to follow that, mileage that you're using to go meet a client, and so on and so on and so on. So, and by the way, when I buy paper for my printer, which is hiding underneath my deer over there, my buck, that goes toward expenses for my business, and ink for the printer, and so on. So working from home has great advantages, and it's bootstrapping at its very best, its very finest, and you don't need a lot of fancy. Now, obviously, if you don't have a nice background, like I have this nice bookcase with all my books on it, and a nice bookcase, and there's actually a third one over there, you cannot see it, and sometimes I'll set up a tripod and you'll see all of them, but you don't need a lot. I mean, if you just had a blank wall behind you, like a white wall or something, or you stood in front of a white door, or even if you don't have the video camera and you just take your cell phone and you record yourself with a nice background. Do not go stand in the laundry room with the dryer or washer running and a pile of laundry behind you. I'm not saying that you have to get all perfectly coiffed and makeup and everything, but what I am saying is that you need to make your presentation a little bit, appealing. I mean, nobody wants to look at your dirty underwear sitting on the floor behind you, so be conscious of what you're presenting, but you don't need to go through a lot of expense to set up a home office. Now, if you can't work from home, there's co-working spaces. There's several here in the Cincinnati area where I live. But the other thing is, if you have, employees or people that work with you on a part-time basis, there are a number of ways that you can work with remote workers, through the internet and different platforms. And I'd love to be able to mentor you, coach you through that if you would like, but we won't go deep into that today. And then there's a third thing is, talking about the employees is how do you effectively hire alternatively. So it doesn't mean that you need to have a lot of employees. I don't have a lot of employees. In fact, I am the employee, and I farm out or freelance out or contract out things as needed. And so you need to be creative. Maybe you do need a virtual assistant. We all need help sometime. And so virtual assistants can fill the gap for certain things. Maybe you need a bookkeeper or data entry, something like that. Maybe you need to hire someone on an hourly basis to help you with your website or your social media platform. All of these can be found on websites like People Per Hour, Fiverr, Upwork. You can find a ton of resources out there. I've used them, and in fact, I have been on the side where I've been a contractor on Upwork. And so you can also look at these people and their capabilities. You can look at their references. You can look at their success rate. All of these platforms help you with that. So stick to your skill set, work from home, and look for alternatives when needing to hire. You don't need to hire a big staff necessarily. Now, if you're doing something like I was doing, where I had a manufacturing company, there comes a point where you probably need to hire people to help you. If you have a storefront, you can't be at the storefront all the time, so you may need to have some hourly workers. But look for alternatives where possible. The idea here is not to go cheap. The idea here is to save money. Now, go cheap means that you hire the least skilled, least possible for the least amount of money because you're trying to save money. Sometimes you can't go cheap, because you have to, if you get what you pay for, all right? Let's just say it that way. If you go out and you find someone that'll build your website for $5, you're going to have a $5 website. But you don't need to go out and find someone that's going to charge you $5,000 or $10,000 to get started on a website. And then we'll talk about websites here in a moment. But let's talk about not just hiring, but tools that we use. So you could use cloud-based computing to help you out with that. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of old school. I came out of the era where you need to take a physical CD or floppy disk or something, put it in your computer, and install your software. Now, the closest I come to installing anything now is uploading a app on my phone, and so you'll install an app. But in this day and age of cloud computing, most of the stuff I do is right through a web browser. In fact, I'm doing this video right now through a web browser through Facebook Live. And I have this mic. And by the way, you can get mics much cheaper than this. This is a Yeti Blue, and it's a great microphone. And you can get them for under $150. But you don't need to spend a lot of money on it. I also have a lavalier mic that I got for under $100. But I get these over time. You don't need to go out and get all this at once. You can go get a cheap microphone for like $30 at Walmart. So anyhow, let's talk about cloud computing now. The IT part of your business is going to take up an enormous amount of your income, your expenses. And so cloud computing, obviously the platform to this is you need a good internet connection. Now, I have found, and this just personally myself, I have found that the best internet connection for me has been through cable modem. Now, you might find that you can use something else, a fiber optic or something, and that works great. But for me, what I have had the best experience with has been cable modem. And the company that we use, I think I have some like 250 megabits per second on a download and 20 megabits a second upload or something like that. It's a little bit slower on the upload, but on the download, obviously where you need it more quickly, it's pretty good. But it does what I need it to do. The other things that you want to look at to save money is Google. Now, I know that Google is the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room, and or the purple pink elephant in the room. I get that. A lot of people don't like big, huge, monolithic companies. But Google has an enormous amount of free and nearly free different apps that you could use and different tools that you can use on your computer. The one thing that I use is Google Drive. Now, for about $20 a month, you can have over a terabyte of space to save on, and they'll also set up a G account, a Google account, where you can run your email through there and all these other things. Now, I use Google Drive, and what's cool is I can share files with my clients. I can set up folders for my clients that I only can give them access to. When I'm collaborating with people, I can use that. And the other thing is that I use Google Write, Google Sheets, Google Present. All of that is easy to use, and I can share those files very easily, and people can open them quite easily. Now, again, I come from this old school mentality of Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint. By the way, I hate PowerPoint. Prezi is a great alternative to PowerPoint, but it takes a little bit of learning. All of these items are free or nearly free. Now, obviously, I pay $20 a month for my Google Drive. You could start out with a very low-end Google Drive that I don't remember how many, maybe it's 2 gigs or something, but they allow you to get started and learn how to use it. And so Google has these great tools. They all work together. And also, you can find CRMs, client relation management programs. All of that out there can be done through the internet for a very inexpensive price. And by the way, I use Google Meet and I use Zoom to do video conferencing with my clients. I use Google Meet with a one-on-one deal, and I use Zoom many times when a client wants me to record the session, or I need to have multiple clients on the line, or I'm doing a webinar. It's so Zoom, you could start out for free. Google Meet is free. Now, if you want the recording options and everything, you have to pay a fee for that. And I think it ends up being, adding to the $20 I pay a month, it ends up being like $40 a month. So there's some features that you can get that you can add on and pay for but I don't use them. Google Meet I use for one-on-one video conferencing. It doesn't record. Zoom, which is out there, is a great product, and I use that for when I have to record a session with a client or I want to work with multiple clients. And finally, use free website builders. Now, Wix is one that I use, but there's others out there. All you have to do is type in free website builder in Google and they'll come up and you can look at them. Many people have different opinions on them, and so you can find the one that works best for you. I'm not going to necessarily endorse one over the other, but I do use Wix, and I have used Wix for several years, and I have found that it works great for me. It's a DIY drag and drop, pretty easy to use. But there are other web page creators like Wise Intro, Duda, and so forth. And so you can find all these different products out there. But here's the other thing. If you own a business or plan to start a business, and you're watching this video of me through Facebook right now, you have an enormous tool sitting at your fingertips. Now, I didn't always appreciate Facebook. In fact, I will be totally honest with you, I've all but disconnected from Facebook on a personal side. And I have under 100 people that I just can't bring myself to disconnect from, their family or very, very close friends. But outside of that, I use Facebook. I have a page and I have some groups that are private groups for my client, meeting with my clients in a mastermind setting. But this page that you're watching this from now, and if you're not watching it from it, go to my website. If you're watching this through another mechanism, whether it be YouTube or through my website, in the upper right-hand corner of my website, on MaximumChange.com, are all my social media buttons. Or you could see the button that says Community. Either one of those, you can select Facebook through the Community tab or through the Facebook logo that's up in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that, and it'll take you to my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/thesuccesscoachmc, and you can join there for free. And I do these videos live on a regular basis. And I do Q&A sometimes as well. But this is free. In fact, this Facebook Live that I'm doing that will turn into a video that I can download and put on other spaces, it's free. I don't have to pay for this because Facebook right now has this deal where they want people to do Facebook Live. They don't care how many of these I do, for how long I do it. And I've been doing this for almost 30 minutes now, this video that you're watching right now. And so use free website builders, use free web portals like Facebook, because you could set up and communicate with your customers on a regular basis. In fact, something that I've grown in wisdom on is the fact that if you can grow your followership on your Facebook page, that is an easy way to stay connected with your followers, and you grow that over time. Now, I also have Instagram, which I think I have I have under 18,000 followers over there, and I do live broadcasts from Instagram. I have Twitter, I have LinkedIn, all of these things. I cross post different videos. Use all the free tools that you can have. There is absolutely no excuse for you to not start a business because you think you need a lot of money. Building a business on a shoestring budget, it can be the difference between a successful startup and a failed one. Most of the businesses that fail, it's because they burn through their money really fast and they do not think wisely. Now, one last thing I want to say about this. As you're building on a shoestring budget, as you're bootstrapping, if you will, your business, how do you break up your funds? Well, I'm going to keep it very simple. If you get $100, no more than 20% of that should go toward advertising. You should put at least 15%, if not 30% aside for taxes. I like to go on the high end, and I will put 40% aside for taxes. And that way, I never have to worry about paying taxes. And if you're a business owner, owning your own business, and it becomes your only source of income is owning your own business, you are going to want to make sure you're putting enough money aside. Now, obviously, you want to make sure that you're putting aside amounts that are relevant relative to your tax bracket. If I'm in the 30 percentile tax bracket, I want to make sure I'm putting aside 40% of my income. So that means $40 I'm putting aside to make sure I have to put into the bank. That means that I've got $40 left because I've put $20 aside for advertising, $40 aside for taxes, and that leaves me $40 to do other things. Now, obviously, if you're bootstrapping, you're putting all that money back into your business. You're not paying yourself a salary yet, because on $100 you really don't have anything. So that $40 goes back into the business for things that you might need, like you need to buy a microphone, or you need to pay someone on Fiverr to do something for you. Maybe you need to buy someone to help you with social media. At some point, there's a threshold where you start paying yourself a salary. And so I don't know what that is for you. This is something we would coach through and mentor through as time allowed us to. But in the early days of bootstrapping, you're putting money into the business to grow it. Again, no more than 20%. Usually the going amount is 10% should be going toward your advertising. And so the way I do it is 10% advertising, 10% overhead. And so sometimes it's 20% overhead. So 30% of what I'm putting aside is for advertising and overhead. And then I put aside $40 or 40% for taxes. Now remember, that's not just federal taxes. You got to make sure that you're taking care of your local taxes as well. If you live in a state like I do, where Ohio charges you income tax as well, you want to make sure that you're putting enough aside for that, including monies that you're going to pay for. At some point, if you get employees, you're going to need to make sure that you're putting aside money for payroll taxes as well. You don't want to get in trouble with your local authorities, your state authorities, or federal authorities when it comes to taxes. You want to make sure you're taking care of that. So I know I went through a lot of things. I just want to encourage you, if you're wanting to start a business, you don't need a lot of money. You do need to be wise about it. I would encourage you to get a good coach or mentor to stand with you and walk with you and encourage you and walk you through the things you need to think about and grow your business wisely. So if you have any questions at all, you can comment on this video, reach out to me through our direct message through Facebook, or you can go to our website at MaximumChange.com and reach out to us there. I'd love to work with you. Check out our services tab. We've got several different options of how you can work with us, and I'd love to hear from you. Hope you have a great day, and I hope you have a great holiday season as we enter into Christmas and the New Year. I want you to stay focused and make it happen. 2019 is almost here, and it's going to be an incredibly awesome year. Let's make it happen. See you soon.